And resilience sort of at a very fundamental, foundational level is this ability to bounce back from challenge and move forward despite the challenge. It's the ability to see the possibility on the other side of challenge as a way of helping us all to move forward, because challenge is inevitable, right? We're all going to face challenge.
Just a little taster of what is coming up on the show. But first, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel. And also tell your friends and family about this podcast. Please let us know in the comments if you would like to hear any particular topic in relation to sleep or health. And I will create a show especially for you, just for asking the question. So let's get on with the show.
Before we start today's video, please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos.
Hello everybody, and welcome back once again to the Empowering Family Health podcast. This episode, I am truly excited to have the wonderful Dr. Kate Lund on. Did I pronounce that right, Dr. Kate
Sure.
Lund? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so excited. We were just talking before I pressed record, and the conversation we're going to have today is all about resilience and how to teach your child how to be resilient in the face of their challenges as they're growing up. So before we bring Kate in and start our conversation, let me read you out Kate's impressive bio and you will understand why I'm so excited about this conversation. So Dr. Kate Lund, growing up with hydrocephalus. Many of you may not know what that is. We might talk a little bit about that. She grew up with hydrocephalus, and it took the ordinary out of Kate's childhood. Numerous surgeries, countless doctor visits, and relentless recovery periods had become her norm. But through it all, one thing kept her thriving: the power of resilience in extraordinary circumstances. And building her life around finding incredible possibility on the other side of challenge has kept her driven and ultimately helped her find her true calling, which is why she's here today with me. Dr. Lund is a licensed clinical psychologist as well, 15 years, and a peak performance coach, a best-selling author, and a TEDx speaker. And her specialized training in medical psychology includes world-renowned Shriners Hospital for Children, Boston, Massachusetts General Hospital, and Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, all of which are affiliated with Harvard Medical School. And she uses a strengths-based approach to help her clients improve their confidence in school and in sports and in life, while helping them to become more resilient and reach their full potential on all levels. Oh my God. Outside of work, Kate enjoys spending her time with her husband and her twin boys, exploring the outdoors of the Pacific Northwest, and these days can often be found on the golf course. You're very welcome, Dr. Kate. Come on in and say hello.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
I'm super excited. And when we talk about resilience for kids, it's really a very passionate area close to my heart, because I really treasure our children of the world. I have children of my own, but I feel as an adult, as a parent, a responsible parent, but whether you're a parent or not, we encounter children every day. You could be an uncle, a granny, whatever, and I think we have a responsibility to guide our children, and because it's a tough old world out there and life happens. But before we dive in, can you tell us, so people can have an understanding and appreciation, what is resilience and how does that show up?
Right. And resilience sort of at a very fundamental, foundational level is this ability to bounce back from challenge and move forward despite the challenge. It's the ability to see the possibility on the other side of challenge as a way of helping us all to move forward, because challenge is inevitable, right? We're all going to face challenge. There's no off button for the challenges in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So So your backstory, can you tell us a little bit so as to give people an appreciation of why you are so passionate about this area? Tell us your backstory and about your childhood illness.
Right, sure. So, when I was 4, I was diagnosed, as you mentioned in the intro, with a condition called hydrocephalus. And that condition is something that can happen, anytime, happens often with children. And it's when the cerebral spinal fluid isn't circulating as it should and pressure builds up on the brain. And so, children become, lethargic, they have headaches, they're throwing up all the time. And it's a very challenging, disconcerting situation, of course, because a once kind of happy, normal 3-year-old all of a sudden is in this precarious position. And it took a long time for the doctors to identify what exactly was going on. But the good news is, when the diagnosis was made, hydrocephalus can be managed with something called a shunt, which is essentially a pump or a drain that's inserted into the ventricles of the brain, which then helps the fluid that's not circulating on its own to circulate. So that's really the long and the short of it. That's what the condition is in a nutshell.
And I guess you had your challenge. I'm a sleep coach, as you know. And I guess that gave you challenges with not being able to sleep as well, which had an impact on your everything, mood, behavior, learning.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, because the hydrocephalus, as prior to the diagnosis, when you're lying down, the pressure builds up at a higher rate. So that causes nocturnal, throwing up in the middle of the night, and that sort of thing. Often in your sleep. So of course, yes, that was
The ability to rest is the body's key to healing. Do you struggle with getting asleep at nighttime or staying asleep during the night and waking up the next morning feeling absolutely exhausted? My book, How to Get a Good Night's Sleep, is easy to understand, it's solution-based, and it's packed with research to help you take back control of your night's sleep. My book is available on Amazon, and it's also available on howtogetagoodnightsleep.com. This book is also available in audio and ebook. So get your copy today and start having the best night's sleep that you've only ever dreamed of. That was a lot. That was a lot for you to, at a very young age. And were you the only child in your family?
No, I have a brother who is 3 years older, and very difficult situation for him as well, of course, to have, a sibling that had this sort of unknown medical challenge going on, very stressful for my parents. So very hard for the entire family system.
Yeah, absolutely. I really tested. So God, I have so many questions. I'm about to write now some of them here. There's so many questions. So for children, right? Children are wired differently, if you like. Their brains are wired differently. Many of us may have heard that, up to the age of 7, they literally absorb everything in what they see. They just accept it for what it is, right? So
right.
What's it important then to, when it comes to managing their emotions, right? Why is it important, do you think, at an early age that they should learn how to manage their emotions?
Well, so important, right? Because challenges are going to hit us, challenge hit me. And it's this ability to keep your stress response sort of level, as opposed to way up here, right? To allow you to move forward beyond the challenge, to allow you to see the possibilities on the other side of the challenge. Like, okay, this is hard right now, but I'm going to get through this. Having the sort of internal belief that it's possible to get through this and move forward. Yeah. That's really sort of at a core level why we need to be, all of us need to be managing our emotions, managing our stress response on a day-to-day level. And such an important skill / message to be giving our kids, along with the tools for actually how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, because it becomes habitual, and we become more conscious, of why we act and behaved in a certain way. And and it's so crucial. So for children, the way I see it, children, when they get frustrated and they act out, right, we call it with acting out, right, or misbehaving or bold. I don't believe there is such a thing as a bold child. I really don't. There's something not working for the child if they're frustrated or upset or whatever. So what is it with the frustration, and how can we overcome? How can we help a child when they're frustrated because they're just in a rage?
Right. Yeah. And frustration is real. And frustration definitely can kind of lead to some difficult behaviors and some challenging outcomes. So it comes back to helping that child sort of untangle from that frustration, from that thing that's causing the frustration. But again, on that foundational level, if you see a child frustrated, sort of locked in their emotion, it's a question of helping them to learn how to calm in the moment. And then it's a process of untangling from there. And developmentally, that process has to unfold too, because a very, very young child, you're not really going to be able to talk through all the intricacies of what's going on with them, right? But as children get older, you've set the stage, the foundation for those discussions through perhaps, modeling, through, example, that sort of thing. And so those conversations can unfold in time.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's looking at it in a developmental context, but also a behavioral context in terms of untangling from what is driving that frustration.
That is so great. Yeah, because understand that the child they can't articulate, and depend on what stage they're at as well. So it could be quite different for an adult. But I think what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, so from a young age, when they can learn to identify and notice, be aware, and then it's through a process, because these things happen and develop, and then there's the hormones when they become teenagers, and that can be challenging too. So what kind of tips would you have for people for themselves, as adults as well as for children? Because it can be a whole family impact, like you had your younger brother as well, that had an impact on him. So, what kind of tips would you have for parents?
Right. So parents, so all of us need to be managing our own stress responses consistently, to have some sort of a practice which allows us to keep ourselves modulated at this very even place. Easier said than done, such that when a challenge hits, we're not going to escalate to the point of, not being able to function or be at our best, so to speak. So, managing our stress response for us as parents, meditation, mindfulness, exercise. Exercise is one of my favorites, sort of physical activity. You were mentioning, as we were talking earlier about, the lovely long walks that you take and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I find that very soothing myself, just getting out for a walk every single day. And, on certain days, trying to do something a little bit more intense, like jumping on the Peloton or something along those lines. But, really having something that's your go-to every day that is going to dial down your sort of foundational stress level is the biggest thing we can do as parents. And then to model that for our kids.
Oh, yeah, model it is the thing, isn't it? Because children, they're watching what we're doing all the time, and we can't necessarily, we get more results when we model it than telling them what to do. I mean, they look at us like, you're not doing it, mommy, so why should I, type of thing, so they really do model. And as they get older, we say to our kids, God, you're just like your mommy or your daddy, because they model us. So, so your kids will literally walk in your footsteps. You mentioned exercise as well. And I think, I love the outdoors and being in nature, because I talk a lot about circadian rhythms and being in sync with nature and being in sync with, daytime and getting the daylight. It's really, really important. And daylight, sunshine, we get our vitamin D, and it does so much more. Light is information for our body, and
Yes.
you know, our mood, like, you know, and especially in the winter months, we're in the winter months at the moment as we speak. There's the seasonal affective disorder as well, the SAD, and a lot of that is from lack of daylight. So this is another really good reason to get out and exercise. And also, you mentioned, I think it was the trampoline or something, I think you mentioned, was it the where you can bounce? I think you used a different word. But it helps to get rid of their excess energy if they've a lot of energy too, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And so helping kids to internalize the importance of that physical activity and helping them to sort of recognize
Yes.
the positive impact that it's having on their bodies, their minds, their sort of outlook and their ability to engage. And that, of course, is a developmental process which unfolds over time. But planting those seeds early is really, really important.
How do you, so you talk a lot about having children look at the possibilities. So rather than, you know, because the brain is so great, the brain does us a service. The brain is trying to keep us safe the whole time. So how do you verbally talk a child through looking for the learning in what happened, you know, or the challenge that they're experiencing? How do you, like, say, for example, if they're being bullied in school, or they feel the bottom of the class, they could be picked last for a team, for example, they don't feel very worthy. How do you verbally talk a child through been able to look at the possibilities to overcome challenges like that?
Right. Yeah. And that's a great question. And, you know, again, it's a developmental process because a younger kid, a younger child isn't going to be able to, you know, take in and conceptualize the same way that a middle schooler or high schooler might be. But it's really the fundamental first thing that we need to do is to listen to the experience.
Yeah.
And by listening, we're showing a level or a sense of understanding of the experience.
Really
Because
hearing
it's
them.
really important to hear their experience, you know, even if we conceptualize it differently or think we saw it differently or think about it differently, to hear their experience on a very fundamental level is super important.
And something that I experienced is with my own daughter personally. She tried to tell me about something that, now she was excited. It was a picture she drew or something like that. She wasn't challenged necessarily, but she wanted to be heard. And I was washing the dishes and trying to get the dinner on. And I said, "Can you wait until I finish? And then I'll have a look." And when I was finished, I asked her, "Now, what did you want to show me?" And she said, "It doesn't matter anymore." And you know what? What I really got from that was they're really present in the moment. And if you miss that opportunity when they want to show you something, they don't feel heard. And it might go in unconsciously, but I think it's a very important lesson.
Yes, I agree with you. And it's so difficult, right? Sometimes for us as parents, when there's so many competing demands and things going on, and so easy to say, just give me a second, I'll be right there type of deal. But as you mentioned, really important lesson for all of us to really try our best, our very, very best, to stay in that moment and to respond to our children when they have that thing that they want to say or show or demonstrate. So that's very, very important.
So children often, they're often challenged with, you know, they may be different than another child. You talk a lot, in your TEDx talk, you spoke a lot about the ordinary. You need to be ordinary, realize that you're ordinary first before you discover your it is a superpower for your extraordinary ability, who you are. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I think that's very intriguing.
Yes, of course. And so it's really a question of, again, from a very early age, and this is a developmental process as well, to help kids to appreciate themselves within their own unique context. You know, and that is, you know, they're ordinary, but within that ordinary, there is the extraordinary, right? We're going to uncover the strengths, the superpowers, the things that they do really, really well, or that really make them unique. But on a foundational level, it's that really fostering that appreciation of who that child is and helping them to do the same, because none of us are the same. We're all coming from different contexts, different experiences, looking through different lenses. So that's what I'm talking about with that idea.
I love it. I love it because yes, we all are individuals. And something that really bugs me is this comparison, how we can, and I've done it. I think we've all done it. You know, we think that somebody is better than us and then we don't feel worthy and what have you. And it's so diminishing.
Right.
So I
So
think
diminishing.
yeah. And I think I love what you're doing, the strength-based approach, identifying your strengths rather than looking at your weaknesses, build on your strengths, because it takes a lot of effort to focus on your weaknesses. Why do that when you have your strengths? Focus on your strengths and build on that. And that's where you get your confidence from. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. Yes. As you build on your strengths, as you foster those strengths, and as we help our children to do those things, that is how confidence grows.
Yeah.
And, it's also important to, let our kids know that it's okay to fail. It's okay for things not to go well the first time out. It's almost expectable, right? And to try again, to maybe shift gears, try the same thing from a different angle, or find that maybe something different is what we might want to try, and that's an important message for our kids as well.
I think one of the biggest mistakes, and maybe you see this, is as a parent, many of us like to do everything for our children and keep them wrapped up in cotton wool. And this is the biggest mistake we can make, because we're not allowing them to show up as themselves and we're keeping them too safe. And what you just said there, to be able to let them learn from their mistakes.
Yes, absolutely. So important to help our kids see that, you're not always going to succeed the first time out. Things are going to be difficult, to sort of acknowledge the reality of challenge. And sort of embedded in that is also this idea of sharing with our kids when they're at a developmental point where they can kind of take it in, that, we've had our challenges as parents. Things have not always been easy for us, and sharing some of those challenges in a transparent way is very valuable for our kids.
Yeah, I learned that myself. When I was been vulnerable, if you like, in front of my child, and I'd say, God, I'm really upset today. This happened and I'm just a little bit off, and she might see me crying or whatever. And by being able to show up as my real self, I was really feeling this way. She got it, and it was so funny, she'd make me a cup of tea or try and make me feel better. Once a child understands, because a child always wants to please you, I think, as they always want to please you. And if you're narky or whatever and shouting and giving out and you're moody, because we take it out on other people, including our kids. And if our child thinks, oh, it's my fault, I did something wrong, I'm not good enough. So I think when we can be vulnerable in front of our children, we're just opening up like a whole new a whole new world for them, really. It's just to let them understand that we're human too.
Yes. Sort of opening up a whole new level of connection, really. Yeah. And then understanding of what's possible for them. Like, okay, if mom and dad struggled with X, Y, or Z, might be that I struggle too, but look where they've moved on to, and it's possible for me too, to move in a positive direction.
And I think having that conversation with your child, obviously, depending on what level they're at, asking empowering questions, because I think all our answers lie within us. And, no answer is the same. We're all unique, as you just said, so it's about us being able to find, that's what coaching is. We're really coaching our children, aren't we? And we ask them those, they're powerful questions. What would you like? Even, we ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up, and I just don't like that question. But so many parents want their child to be a lawyer like they were, or a doctor like they are, or whatever, and I think it's important to let a child find their own way, because it's all about what they like, isn't it?
Absolutely. That is such a good point. And that embedded in that is this idea of managing expectations. You don't want to really put expectations on a child, like you have to be this or you have to do that. And also sort of from a family perspective, managing the expectations of perhaps extended family that they have for your children or for your family in general, because those types of expectations can be so damaging.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's enough stress in the world. We don't want to put that on our children. And it's really important that they enjoy what they do, because that's where their true heart will be in it. And that's when they will perform their best. And you also, you're a performance coach as well. So I guess this really adds to their performance when they enjoy what they do.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because when we love what we do, we have a greater chance of being at our best. And yeah, that sort of applies to all of us across the lifespan and across domains, but absolutely.
You're a best-selling author of the book Bounced. Can you talk a little bit about that before we wrap up? Because I want to get that in. I want to talk about that.
Sure, absolutely. Super fun project. And, I wrote Bounce sort of through the lens of the younger child. And we look at 7 pillars of the resilient child. But the important thing is all of these pillars apply to all of us across the lifespan. It's this idea of managing our emotions and tolerating frustration, navigating friendship and social pressure. And then we look at, other areas, sustaining focus and attention, building courage, confidence, optimism, and how all of these things sort of come together to help us to be as resilient as we can in the face of challenge.
Brilliant. Oh my God, that's just incredible. So Bounce, it's called Bounce, and it's available on Amazon. I've seen it on Amazon. And you also have an accompanying, God, I can't even speak today, a course to go along with that.
Yes. There is a course that goes along with the book that's out on a platform called Lund.
Oh yeah, that's right. I seen that earlier on today. Yeah, fantastic. So that's available as well. I really do recommend folks to go along and have a look at that as well, or buy the book. Kate, can you tell us where people can find you?
Sure, absolutely. So I have a website. It's www.katelundspeaks.com. And so they can find me there. And I'm also on LinkedIn. That's another really good place to find me.
Okay, fantastic. And I have the link to your TEDx talk. So I'm going to put that in the show notes as well, and the links to your website and all your social media as well. And I do highly recommend people to go and check it. Where are you calling in from, actually?
I'm in Seattle.
Oh, you're in Seattle. I thought you were in California for some reason. Okay, so you're in Seattle. So is it cold out there?
It is a little chilly, but the weather hasn't been as bad as it could be.
Okay.
It's been okay.
We look on the positive side of that anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kate, just to wrap up, one last empowering thought or message that you have for parents or educators to help raise resilient children, what would that be?
Right. So that would be, at a very foundational level, believe in the possibility of the child, believe that there is possibility for all children.
Oh my God, that's like a mic drop moment. That is so powerful. Absolutely. I love it. Oh, look, Dr. Kate, I love your work. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing for the world. And you learned this through your own experience. This is why you're on this path. And sometimes that's why we're doing the work that we're doing, from a past experience that we've had ourselves. And we don't want to see other children experience what we've experienced. So I really admire you, and I appreciate you, and really honor the work that you're doing, because, if you can help parents raise resilient children, you're our next leaders, they're our next generation in the world. So the more people like you out there, the better. So I really appreciate you. So thank you, Dr. Kate, and we will talk to you soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I do hope you are enjoying these conversations, and to help me continue pushing these videos and audio podcasts together, I do have an ask. I do need support to help me to keep bringing you knowledge and insights. There is a Patreon link, patreon.com/empowering family health, or you can make a donation via PayPal. All the links are in the description and the pinned comment. You can do a one-off, or you can do a monthly support. So I'd really appreciate that. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Take care.